investors and everyone who is interested in AI what exactly they don't know about AI. The word hallucination was chosen as a word of the year. Let's imagine that AI is a student and student needs a teacher.
What if OpenAI decides to do mental health? You want to replace the human therapist.
Our goal was to create an ecosystem, the whole product, not just AI. Because if you include in your dataset private data, model can expose this data, of course.
Telegram, WhatsApp, like how can there be guaranteed?
They can't.
Welcome to Startup Sluts, where we keep it real. No sugar-coated stories, just the raw deal.
Hello and welcome to podcast Startup Sluts, how to fuck up your startup. Today, the topic of our episode is to explain investors and everyone who is interested in AI what exactly they don't know about AI. Why we have decided to talk about it? Because we have had a very interesting episode with business angel Ute, and she has told us that actually the best way to develop the relationship with business angels is to provide them useful information about the domain knowledge you have. And in our case, it's AI, it's mental health, it's being young startup, very young. Yes, but today we are talking about AI, and we have a long journey, like 2 years long, talking about different people about AI, about our product, and sometimes, or actually very often, we mostly yes,
times.
we received very similar questions the whole time, and it seems like people asking this question because they don't have enough understanding of the context of the AI. Clearly, there are some investors who are specializing on AI, and of course, they know the topic very deep and they don't ask these questions. But very often, people who are listening pitches or investing in people, they might not have this very deep knowledge, for example, in AI.
Yeah, so that's why we decided, and we understand these questions coming because it's important to understand. But that's why we decided that today we're gonna ask the questions the way so everyone gets the most out of the answer. So the most information, and that we would be also happy to receive questions like this after our pitches.
Yeah, for sure. And I think generally speaking, there are like three main type of questions we were asked. Some are related AI only, some are related security and AI, and others are more like AI in mental health domain. Yeah, I think the very first question was always about the hallucination of AI, and the deal was that, for example, in 2023, the word hallucination was chosen as a word of the year. It's clear and understandable, but it's also clear and understandable that hallucination in AI actually is not something very bad. It's very natural for AI, for large language models, actually not for AI, because AI it's like the main word, but actually LLMs are a subset of AI. And AI includes itself a lot of other subsystems like computer vision, robotics. Hallucination in AI happens when a model confidently gives an incorrect answer. Why it is happening? Let's imagine that AI is a student and student needs a teacher. And the teacher is loss function. And it's used during the process of model training. The loss function measures how far the AI's guess is from the correct answer. The deal is that AI doesn't learn like the way either this information is true or false. It's learning how confident this answer is correct or how confident this answer is wrong. At the end, we have the probability either this answer correct or incorrect. If the answer is wrong, but AI wasn't very confident that this answer is wrong, loss functions provides like a very small penalty. And the same way, if AI thinks that this answer is correct, but it's not very confident that it's correct, the penalty is also like small. And that is why this hallucination is happening. But if we don't have this hallucination in the AI, large language models will never generate such text, because let's be honest, it generates really good text, and it's obvious that the development in large language models is very good and very sufficient in comparison with the past years. So we just need to find the way what we might do with hallucinations, but we can't avoid them.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think the question that we also got a lot was like, how do you deal with it? How do you solve it? And for that question, I think it's a very important to understand why the hallucinations are happening.
Yeah, that like I mentioned, that it's okay that they're happening. It's in the nature of the large language models. Not I think there are generally speaking two main ways how people might deal with hallucinations. Either they fine tune the model, or they use RAG, and RAG is retrieval augmented generation. Generally speaking, it is like you take the knowledge base, and you are looking for information you need for. It doesn't mean that you need to fine tune the model. I think it depends very much from the business case, because in some cases it is more sufficient to do this RAG system, in other cases to do fine tuning. We've tried both, and in our case, fine tuning is working better because we fine tune the model exactly for our purposes, and it can provide more mental health related information, and the way it sounds is very important also for our business case, and it gives us fine tuning gives us this opportunity to make the better product. Because with REC, we have understood that it's very limited with the knowledge it gets, and in our case, it gets knowledge from PDFs about mental health, and it means that the system can't anymore have this understanding of the more complex topic which clients are talking about, because very often they don't come. And you know what, I also have mentioned that with REC systems, it's like more about asking the question and getting the answer from the knowledge the system have or get from the knowledge base. And in our case, it didn't work because people don't come to ask. They might come for sure, but it's not in our case that they come to ask what is CBT. They come to say, I feel bad, what can I do? So we don't like this system can't provide the answer we are looking for, clients are looking for. So it was not the best decision for us to implement regs. We tried it, and then we have understood that fine tuning works better for ours. So yes, it's something what we've done.
Yeah, I remember because like for me it was pretty new at that point to understand like what
Yeah.
difference there was and what fine tuning was, and I remember how much you invested in, like, because it's not that easy of people think it's so easy,
Yeah.
like you just fine tune and that's
Yeah.
it. It's not.
It's not easy. It's RAG is not easy. Sports techniques are very advanced actually, and it took so much time to prepare the data, to clean the data, to try different techniques. And I'm very happy that actually fine tuning has become possible, because at the very beginning, like people were, oh, what we can do we need to create our own model, and it's even more sophisticated. um, but yes, like I think really a lot of people don't understand the deepen of the knowledge people need to have to do it, willingness to create this product, like ground based, not just use prompting and buy the already very well models like from OpenAI or cloud, something like this. That of course prompting for some business cases is also great.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think there we come back to the point of you yourself need to understand very well what your business needs,
Yeah,
which type of like what do you should do, but be prepared for that question that's gonna
yeah,
come.
yeah,
Why did you decide that? So you need to
yeah,
know
for
which is
sure.
more suitable for you.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm also like very impressed sometimes if people who are creating some businesses which require this high level of control over the data, over the model, and so on, so on. Like for example, mental health or medical businesses, I would say, and they then have in the team, for example, developers like the core team. There is no AI developer or like no developers because I don't understand how they create then the product, which requires such a high standards of security, of controlling the data, how is this data is used, where is its source, and so on and so on. So yeah,
Yeah. Good point.
good point.
And there's another topic which was for me a little bit surprising when it came up because I remember we were filling up an application for
Mm-hmm.
some competition, and there was like, but what is the environmental like how bad it is or what does your model do to
Yeah,
environment?
yeah,
And I was like, I don't like I myself
yeah,
I don't know, I've never thought about it. So
yeah. Yeah, generally speaking, creating AI is not environmental friendly because the main point is what electricity source do you use, and as a rule, everyone is using like not sustainable energy sources. So creating its own model is very environmentally unfriendly, I would say. Of course, fine tuning is less environmental unfriendly, and it's very interesting. But we haven't mentioned it on our website, for example. But actually, we have fine tuned very environmentally friendly because we have GPU at home, like in our office,
home office near to our home
near to
studio.
our home studio, exactly. And we use at home the electricity from
Renewable.
renewable renewable energy sources like wind or sun. So in our model is very environmental friendly.
Yeah, I remember going through that with you when we were making the application. I was like, oh, even I am impressed.
Yeah, but actually, if you want to create a very, very environmental friendly system, you need to use RAG because it's a less environmental intensively damaging process.
But are there overall, like, I understand, for example, the difference between like fine tuning is less, reg is even less,
Mm,
but are there overall, like, how can AI be more environmentally friendly? Are there any steps people can take?
yeah, like or using open source models instead of creating own models the whole time. That is why there is like Hugging Face, where you have a lot of the access to open source models.
And maybe also like take into your financial planning the more environmentally friendly hardware you can
Yeah,
get,
exactly,
and
exactly.
yeah, there are small steps, but they still
Yeah,
make
yeah.
difference.
For example, Microsoft, I think they have bought the nuclear power plant because, and Nvidia, I think, I'm not sure to be honest, but they have bought because they need this power source energies to train models and so on and so on. And what is very interesting in America, you can buy power plant and no one will ask you like a private person, like a private corporation, you can do it. In Europe, it's not possible.
Yeah.
So, but it's really interesting that you can have your own power plant. Maybe as a private person, you can also create nuclear
Yeah.
weapons.
It's like whatever your heart
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
desires. um, yeah, I think we had also a lot of talks and questions about we were like for us it was very important I think to highlight how much like energy and how much time really went into how you were creating, like how you were developing our
Mm,
own AI and overall like what we were really valuing in
yeah,
our own product.
yeah,
And it was one of the things that made us really unique and different because they were why we were choosing to do it, not to share data and
yeah,
to but I don't think everyone understood what it meant. Like some thought we were creating it from zero.
yeah.
So it's like a difference between developing an AI model and building an entire
Pro
application
application,
that
yeah.
includes AI in its
Mm, mm,
features.
mm, mm. Yeah, it's like a bit related question we were asked very often. What is the difference between OpenAI and our product? And like the main difference is that the goal our goal was to create an ecosystem, the whole product, not just AI. AI was a very important but just fun feature. And we wanted to create something bigger than just the model. We wanted to create the space where people can come and get this help. And that is why it requires like much more steps than just having a great model. You need to have great UX design. You need to have developers who will create application based on this great UX design, and then you need that it works properly all together, and you are thinking a lot about the users engagement, what they will feel when they push this button or that button, the way AI should answer, and so on and so on. And of course, it's just something what we see, but there are a huge amount of processes behind, yeah, like data security, data banks, and so on and so on. So yes, I think very often the questions were very limited with the AI instead of asking about the general, the whole idea, the innovation we want to bring to the market.
Yeah, and it's hard when you are, for example, when you are on this pitching competition or something, and they ask you a question, you don't have this like 5, 10 minutes of starting. Let me explain the like behind the important background information, and then I answer this. So it's a challenging things to answer. And one of my favorite questions was always like, what if OpenAI decides to do a mental health
Yeah,
app? And I was like, always, but
it's not
it's not.
the it's not the business model.
Yeah. So then you can ask about every other huge company. What if they decide to
Yeah,
do something else? So
yeah, yeah. Of course, if a big company makes this decision as a small startup, yeah, you won't exist anymore. Your business will be destroyed. But I, I, I was really very curious. Either these people don't understand like the business goals of these big companies, or it's like just to ask this question to train ours, like,
yeah,
or to see our reactions, because otherwise it seems silly to ask this type of questions. Do you in long term want to use those type of solutions, or you want to come to the application which has much higher standards providing mental health support, for example, in our case?
yeah, yeah. That's for me was always the. But that's the thing. That's what you learn in these questions.
Yeah,
I can say like first 2 times when the question was asked, I was like a little bit, I don't
yeah,
know the word, flabbergasted.
yeah.
My new favorite word. But like after that, I was like, but it's so easy to answer in if you understand like
Yeah,
the model, the business model of that
yeah,
company,
yeah,
and the what you are wanting
yeah,
to achieve with yours. But
yeah.
yeah,
But the most important difference is that it very different. It is very different. Either people creating just a great model, or they creating the whole product, which includes also AI features.
Yeah, yeah, that's the most important to understand.
Yeah.
And I think um, we can also come to another huge
Mm-hmm.
topic in, and I can really say I've never had even a single conversation about our startup without these questions coming up, and of course the questions about
Yeah,
security.
security. Yeah, generally speaking, it depends how you train your model, because if you include in your data set private data, model can expose this data, of course. But I think it is the biggest problem. It which depends what data you use, um, how you deal with sensitive data. Also, either you include this data or no. That is why, in our case, for example, it was very important to have a conversation with psychologist. What data we should include, what data we should exclude, and so on and so on. But it is the biggest security problem related to AI. Of course, much more security concerns coming with applications, because you work there with also with data, but how you store the data, where you store the data. Yes, if you use APIs, you need to ensure that the API endpoints are secure, for example, and so on and so on. That is why, of course, creating an application has higher security
Concerns.
concerns, yes, than just working with AI. And of course, GPR laws should be like taking your consideration very clear, very deep, not deep, but
Yeah, very
very
seriously. We
seriously. Yeah.
spend our like very limited
Yes.
budgets,
Yes.
half on
Yes.
the
Yes. And
lawyers. This was one of the most important parts for us as a company, to guarantee the security. That's why we like spent a lot time in like creating something that really was almost one of the kind in this space,
yeah.
with that type of security. And that's not possible to explain to someone in one question.
Yeah.
It's something that you go back, like it needs a longer discussion to kind of bring it to
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
people, and
Yeah.
so they understand.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, as you mentioned at the beginning, we also had like a few more mental health related questions, and sometimes they were asked very provocatively. And one of them was always like, "What, you want to replace
Mm-hmm.
the human therapist?
Mm-hmm.
Can AI replace a human therapist?"
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was always because they missed our like mission at the beginning. It was never a goal to replace.
I have thought about this question a bit. And I think maybe for some people it can actually replace, because we have the conversation with some people and they were like, I don't want to talk with a human being therapist. I think they are biased, or I feel just don't want to share their sensitive information, their sensitive stories with another human being, because maybe they are afraid that therapist is still also a human being and might have some biases, or I don't know, maybe they have had like negative experiences with real psychologists, so they are also biased against real people. Real people. Oh my god.
Yeah, but that's one thing. That's why we wanted to create something that has the
Yeah.
potential to really provide very helpful support. But the goal to, I want to replace therapists, the idea and the product exists because there is a lack of
Yeah.
it. There are not enough people, not enough specialists. And even if there are, as you
Yeah.
mentioned, some still deal with stigma and don't want to go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. 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 That is why I think for some people it might replace, but for many people it won't replace, because we still need some human being around us, someone who has the heart, I would say, um,
Yeah,
and empathy.
yeah, and I think for me the best is like both together. You
Yes.
know, you have your therapist's appointment once a week, and then you have your AI
Yeah.
therapist
Yeah. Yeah.
during all the other
Yeah,
time.
and then you can even just use this information to go to the real therapist. I agree that combination, like to have both, is the best.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree.
And maybe very last question, which was asked a lot. Either AI can
Yeah, detect
detect the
depression.
depression.
It came from the questions of what are you? Are you
Yeah,
prevention? Are you like
yeah,
treatment or what?
yeah, yeah. For sure, AI can detect depression based on texts. We haven't done it in our product, and of course you can't fully rely on these detections. You always need a real therapist who will take a look into the result and will say yes, you have depression or you're not. Like still you need a real professional because you can't rely 100% on the answer of the AI on this test. But maybe someday in the future, who knows, who
Yeah,
knows.
yeah, and especially looking how the pace, how it develops.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think it's very far away
Yeah, yeah,
in time.
because there are already models out there which do a great job. Um, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's most of the questions regarding like
yes,
AI and what we always wanted to kind of communicate. But as you see, it's difficult to cram into 1 minute question.
yes, absolutely.
But yeah, that's an important part for our work with MaxPy. So we
Yeah,
wanted to share it. And
yeah. I think for today we are done, and we would be happy if you will leave us a comment, leave a thumb ups, um,
yeah, subscribe.
subscribe.
We are now also on Spotify, so follow us there too. And maybe you also have had this experience of some questions that either make you smile at the beginning or question the other people themselves. We would be very happy to hear them, so share them in the comments. And we will see you in the next episode.
Bye.